and welcome to week 18 of Ari on TV. I'm Miss Jess. This month, we've been learning about beloved community. It's our worship theme for the month. When it comes to beloved community, we can create a place where wounds are healed and wrongs are righted. You see, racism has caused a lot of people to be very hurt. Their bodies, their hearts, their souls, their families, their communities. And our faith has taken up the work of becoming anti-racist and building beloved community. Our faith has called on Unitarian Universalists to build a world without racism. A large part of that is creating new ways of being together. But we also need to focus on healing old and existing wounds. We can't just pretend those wounds don't exist or that we aren't sometimes causing new ones. So, what's one of the ways our faith guides us into becoming a people of beloved community? It says, acknowledge and heal the wounds that racism has caused. And we're going to talk more about that today. But first, welcome into this quiet place of beauty. We come from busy things. Pausing for a moment for the thoughts that quiet brings. Our chalice lighter this week is Charlie.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Do you know what that is? It's a Band-Aid. We put Band-Aids on cuts, right? Unfortunately, there's no Band-Aid like this one for racism. People are treated differently based on the color of their skin, and these different standards are unfair. They've caused wounds to people of color. Unfairness and racism are part of the history of Black people in our country, as well as the histories of people from other races like Latinx, Native American, and Asian. Since this is Black History Month, we're especially thinking about racism involving African Americans. I want to share a story with you. This story is from a blog post called Learning About Racism, a Star Wars story, and it's written by Dr. Nathaniel K. Jones. He tells the story of something that happened when he was 7 years old. And this is what he writes. You can't be Han Solo from Star Wars. You're Black. It hit me out of nowhere. I was so confused. I mean, my skin was certainly darker than anyone else's in the group, but since when was that going to stop the game about space aliens? I assumed they sensed my confusion and offered me the role as Lando instead because, quote, he looked more like you. It was the day that my mother explained racism to me. Now, I know a Band-Aid can't fix what happened to Dr. Jones, and we have to be careful using a Band-Aid metaphor here, because here's the thing. Sometimes a Band-Aid can just cover something instead of healing it, and it gets worse because we aren't looking at it. The Band-Aid's just covering it up, and we can't see what's really happening. We don't want that to happen in our work to be anti-racist. So here's what we can do to help heal. Here's some ways that we can act. We can notice our differences and celebrate them. We can say, I see what's happening and it's not fair. We won't let the wounds continue to happen. We can fix the systems that cause personal wounds. Now, these seem like three simple things. But helping to heal the wounds of racism and building beloved community is going to take a lot of work. Have you ever heard the story of babies in the river? Our special guest this week is Miss Marcia, and she's going to tell us that story.
Babies in the river. Once upon a time, there was a small village on the edge of a river. Life in the village was busy. There were people growing food and people teaching the children to make blankets, and people making meals. One day, a villager took a break from harvesting food and noticed a baby floating down the river toward the village. She couldn't believe her eyes. She heard crying in the distance and looked downstream and saw that 2 babies had already floated by the village. She looked around at the other villagers working nearby. "Does anybody else see this baby?" she asked. One villager heard the woman, but she continued working. "Yes," yelled a man who had been making soup. "Oh, this is terrible," a woman building a fire shouted. "Look, there are even more upstream." Indeed, there were 3 more babies coming around the bend. "How long have these babies been floating by?" asked another villager, but no one knew for sure. Some people thought they might have seen something in the river earlier, but they had been too busy at the time to take off and investigate. They quickly organized themselves to rescue the babies. Watchtowers were built on both sides of the shore, and the swimmers were coordinated to maintain shifts of rescue teams that maintained 24-hour surveillance of the river. Zip lines with baskets attached were stretched across the river to get even more babies to safety quickly. The number of babies floating down the river only seemed to increase. The villagers built orphanages and taught more children to make blankets and increased the amount of food they grew to keep the babies housed, warm, and fed. Life in the village carried on. Then one day at the village council, a villager asked, "But where are all these babies coming from?" "No one knows," said another villager. "But I say we organize a team to go upstream and find out who's throwing these babies into the river." Not everyone was in agreement. "But we need people to help us pull the babies from the river," said one villager. "That's right," said another villager. "And who will be here to cook for them and look after them if a bunch of people go upstream?" The council chose to let the village decide. If you were a villager, what would your vote be? Would you vote to send the team upstream?
Building beloved community and helping heal the wounds of racism is going to take a lot of work. But you can do it. Just like the people in the story who went to the source of the problem, we can do that too. Don't just stand around pulling babies out of the water or putting band-aids on the hurt racism is causing and calling it done. Work to stop that hurt from happening in the first place. I know you can. I know we all can. Miss Leah is here to remind us of the importance of beloved community in this important work.
Father, mother, sister, brother.
Father, mother, sister, brother.
All are part of me.
All are part of me.
Teacher, friend, here within, they are all a part of me.
Teacher, friend, here within, they are all a part of me.
I love myself as I love you.
I love myself and I love you.
We touch each other and make life true.
We touch each other and make life true.
I am part of this community. It is part of me. I am part of this community. It is part of me.
That's it for our show this week. Can you say the words with me for extinguishing the chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Make sure you visit our virtual RE Learning Lab this week to learn more about how you can celebrate difference, call out racism and unfair treatment, and begin the work of fixing a racist system. You might be a kid now, but you won't be forever. I know you can build the better world we all so desperately need. Until next time, blessed be, my loves.